They were profitable on paper. Record profits, actually. Press releases, headlines, bonuses. And then, 3 months later, they were gone. Not because demand disappeared, not because the product failed, but because the money showed up too late. That's the part most people miss. Profit feels like success. Cash flow decides survival. And right now, that gap between the two is swallowing businesses, households, and even entire economies. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You can be making money and still be going broke, and it happens more often than anyone wants to admit. Let's start small, personal, familiar. Imagine you earn a good salary. On paper, you're doing well, but your paycheck arrives on the 30th. Your rent is due on the 1st. Your credit card bill closes on the 3rd. Your car payment hits on the 5th. You're profitable for the month, but you're cash poor for the week. So you swipe the card, you float the payment, you bridge the gap. That gap is cash flow, and living in it is expensive. Now scale that problem up. A freelancer bills a client, net 60 terms. A small business delivers inventory, paid in 90 days. A startup signs a big contract, revenue recognized today, cash next quarter. On the income statement, everything looks great. In the bank account, it's panic. This is where the story usually turns, because cash flow isn't about how much you earn. It's about when the money arrives versus when the bills demand to be paid. And bills don't care about your projections. They care about today. This is why profitable companies fail quietly, not with explosions, but with missed payrolls, delayed suppliers, one uncomfortable phone call too many. The math underneath is brutally simple. Money in, money out. Timing decides everything. But the system does a great job of hiding this from us. We celebrate profit because it feels clean, a single number, a win or a loss. Cash flow is messy. It lives in timing mismatches, payment terms, inventory cycles, debt schedules. It's not glamorous, but it's ruthless. Let's talk about the illusion. Profit is an accounting concept. It smooths reality. Cash flow is physical. It's literal money moving or not moving through the system. You can't pay rent with expected revenue. You can't cover groceries with future margins. You can't survive on confidence. During boom times, this distinction barely matters. Credit is easy. Payments are fast. Everyone assumes tomorrow will fix today. That's when people start mistaking growth for safety. Revenue goes up. Costs go up. Headcount expands. Fixed expenses lock in. And cash flow quietly tightens. Then conditions change. Interest rates rise. Customers delay payments. Credit lines shrink. Inventory sits longer than expected. Nothing dramatic, nothing headline-worthy, just slower money. And suddenly, profit doesn't matter anymore, because survival is a timing game. This is why you see something that feels absurd. Companies posting profits while laying people off. Households earning more but saving less. Governments collecting more taxes yet struggling to pay bills. It's all cash flow stress wearing different costumes. Let's zoom in on debt for a moment. Debt doesn't care if you're profitable. It cares if you're liquid. Interest is due on schedule. Principal doesn't wait for your best quarter. When cash flow tightens, debt amplifies the pressure. Not gradually, exponentially. A small delay becomes a big problem. Fees pile up. Rates reset. Refinancing gets harder. This is where optimism meets math, because profit is forgiving, cash flow is not. The irony is that many people and businesses fail because they look successful. They grow faster than their cash cycle can support. They reinvest every dollar back into expansion. They assume momentum equals safety, until it doesn't. This is especially dangerous right now. We're coming off years where cheap money masked bad timing. Low rates made delays tolerable. Credit filled gaps without friction. That era is fading. Money is more expensive. Lenders are cautious. Payment cycles are stretching, which means cash flow matters more than it has in a decade. At a personal level, this shows up as stress that feels irrational. Why do I feel broke when I'm earning more than ever before? Because your obligations became rigid while your income stayed variable. Subscriptions, loans, rent, buy now, pay later, all fixed outflows, all timed precisely. Your income? Not so much. At a business level, it shows up as fragility disguised as growth. High revenue, thin buffers, zero margin for delays. One missed payment from a major client can start a chain reaction. Suppliers tighten terms, employees get nervous, creditors stop extending grace. And suddenly the question isn't, are we profitable? It's, can we make it to next month? This is why experienced operators obsess over cash flow statements while everyone else skims past them, because they know the real risk doesn't announce itself loudly. It creeps, it hides behind good news, it shows up as confidence right before collapse. Here's the uncomfortable contrast. The hike says grow fast, scale hard, optimize later. The math says survive first, grow second. The hype celebrates valuation. Cash flow measures reality. The hype loves projections. Cash flow punishes assumptions. And none of this is intuitive because we're taught to chase outcomes instead of controlling flow. We're taught to focus on totals, not sequences. But sequences are where things break, because money arriving late is often worse than money never arriving at all. Late money creates debt. Debt creates fragility. Fragility turns small shocks into existential threats. Zoom out far enough and this pattern repeats everywhere. Households, companies, banks, governments. Entire systems can look healthy while running on borrowed time. And when the timing snaps, everyone acts surprised. So here's the question worth sitting with. If profit is the story we tell ourselves, and cash flow is the reality we live in, which one are you actually managing right now? Because in the end, survival doesn't belong to the smartest, the biggest, or even the most profitable. It belongs to whoever gets the timing right. And in a world where money moves slower than promises, that might be the only advantage that matters.